But the dream is, you're ambitious in the morning and you're thankful in the evening.
This is a good one.
If you can balance it that much each day, you're living the life. You don't want to just be thankful the whole time and give up, but you don't want to be constantly striving and missing out, like you said.
Hey Marcos, thank you for accepting the invite and welcome to A Glass of Marketing with Joe. The concept is pretty simple. We usually have a glass of wine while talking about marketing, of course, personal and professional growth. But before getting started, what are you drinking today?
So, hi Joe, thank you for the invite. This is a really fun way to spend a Tuesday afternoon. It's very nice. So I'm drinking Sancerre, which... looking at some of the other episodes you've done, there seems to be a lot of people swinging towards red wine. So I thought I'll represent whites. I love Sancerre. I don't know a great deal about wine, but I like Sancerre, the taste. And it reminds me of my wife and the trip we had when she was very heavily pregnant, and we took a trip around France. So I got to enjoy the wines, and she got to rest. And yeah, it just reminds me of her and the brilliant stuff that she's done and the amazing twins that she made for us. So whenever I drink the wine, I think of her and all the fun stuff.
That's a great choice, by the way, man. So, but yeah, man, thank you for accepting the invite. For people that don't know you, you are the co-managing director of Spark, great agency. You're actually based in London. Do you want to give a quick intro of yourself, what you guys do, so at least we have a little bit of background before getting into the topics?
Yeah, so I'm co-managing director of Spark Foundry. So it's a big global media agency. We're part of Publicis Group. Focus very much into media, data science, data, insights, technology, innovation, all the fun stuff, all the exciting stuff. I think media right now is probably the most exciting place to be in marketing. So much is changing. So it makes it very, very fun. We work with some major brands. We get to do some incredible campaigns. And yeah, it's a really, really good, fun place to be.
Great office in London. The office is amazing. It's one of the best I've seen. But yeah, cool. Probably the first thing I really wanted to touch on, because I think we both work in media. E-com media is booming right now. So maybe more like a provocative thought here. Don't you think, and because of AI and everything, don't you think we're moving from B2B, B2C to actually B2AI, right? Because at the end of the day, we get into a place where AI is going to be our super smart assistant, and already Alexa, Google, they're going to tell us, what to buy, right? But then at the same time, AI is being used by marketers to actually, optimize campaigns. So don't you think at some point it's going to be AI selling to AI?
Yeah, we've been talking about this for a while. It won't be too long before there's two modes of marketing. You're going to be marketing to humans, and then you're going to be marketing to machines. So like the assistants that power what people are doing. But I think it's interesting that you talk about the role of e-com and performance, because you and Can last week, which I want to learn more, so I hear more about. So much of the conversation I think right now around AI is top of the funnel. It's very brand. It's around creative, the role of production. Nobody seems to be talking about the role of AI in commerce and retail media. And for me, that's the most exciting area. That's where there's going to see the biggest changes. And to be honest, probably the biggest value to shoppers, to the way we interact, the way that we engage with brands that we need. So an example of this, I was watching a program the other day called The Gentleman on Netflix.
Mm-hmm. Amazing, by the way. I love the British humor, man. I love the British humor.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
It's amazing.
It's good.
It's fine.
So I watched that. It's slightly it's odd. It's maybe slightly terrified of like chicken outfits from the first episode, but it's the side. But there's a moment. There's a shirt that I liked, And it's going to sound awful. It was like corduroy, slightly mustardy, but I think mustard's making a comeback. So I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting.
Okay.
So I took a photo of the shirt and I uploaded it to ChatGPT. And I said, I like this. I have no idea what to style it with, how I would wear it, if it would go with the things I've got. Like, can you help me? And very quickly, it created like a whole list and sort of an explanation where I could wear it, or how I could pair it, the seasons, the style, the social situations that it might go to. I then prompted it a little bit more. I took a photo of myself, so it knew my colouring, it knew my skin tone, it knew my hairstyle, etc. So then that feeds all into it. I said, look, this is lovely, but I'm very visual. So it started generating images. So then I effectively have my own personalised lookbook made just for me around this item. And then with a little bit more nudging, I got it to start shortlisting, where can I actually buy this shirt? So I love it. I want to buy it. Where can I get it from? And it's already starting to shortlist the shirts, the different brands, the different retailers, and at the different price points. So this is already possible. The only thing that's really missing is me giving the credit card to ChatGPT and say, buy it for me. This is my, I've got £100. Go and buy it. I trust you. Do it. It's all good. Make sure it gets there by Friday because I want to wear it this weekend. So that's what's coming. That's the next step. It's going to be, AI commerce is so close. It's going to hit us like a freight train. And I don't think most businesses are talking about it in terms of how close it's going to be. And it's going to have a huge impact, particularly for shoppers, in terms of making things so much easier in terms of the way that we shop. So, another example is food. Doing a weekly shop is quite laborious. You go onto a grocery website, it's 50 clicks or so for to fill a basket. Moving forward, you won't need to do a single click. What you'll be saying is, I've got a family of 4, we've got 2 kids, one of them's vegetarian, the other one doesn't like broccoli. Create recipe cards for me. I've got £150 budget.
You're gonna have it like a smart fridge, which is gonna already predict when you're gonna, finish like the broccoli and buy new ones, right? As well, right?
Yeah. So this is the stuff that Samsung's already coming out with. So you've got technology in your home that's recognizing this.
But can I tell you something? I'm a control freak, right? And I don't want to give all of this control to my fridge because I want to save money. I don't trust my fridge, or like, you know what I mean? So in some ways, like, yeah, it's there. I think we need to find a way to use it as an assistant, more like than taking decision for us. But I agree with you. I feel like in the near future, most of the lazy people that are not control freaks like me, they're gonna just trust it, right?
Well, yeah. Look, it's going to happen in stages. You're not going to trust it with access to your whole wallet overnight. But, as much as I'm a bit of a control freak as well, but I think the thing that most people are focused on is time. So, what you don't want to do is spending your whole night trying to do the grocery shopping and figure out which what to buy and to get all the stuff delivered to you. What you want to focus on is making a meal for your family and enjoying quality time together.
Yeah.
That's where the role is going to play. But that massively changes the relationship we have with the retailers when they start offering this. But I suppose it raises a lot of questions for brands because, what does brand building mean?
I mean, it's the new SEO, right? You used to optimize for search engine. Today, you need to optimize for AI. Do we know how AI crawls, index, and scan our website, or do we not? Or do we need to learn that? You know what I mean?
We still need to learn it. I think there's ways that it could be done and could be protected against in the same way that you can turn Google web crawling on or off. There's debates as to how much the AI listens to that versus just goes and looks at everything. But the reality is that's how websites are changing. That's what the UX is going to look like. And then you're right, the SEO behind it of, you're relying on an AI to shortlist the brands that you might consider based on what you're asking the AI system to do on your behalf. So it massively changes things. You're not necessarily looking through everything as the way you would. But I think brand building becomes more important in that world. There's part of it's marketing to the machines and the efficiency and the control of it. Yeah. The other side is brand becomes the shortcuts because you say, look, I want to make a meal, but there's certain brands and certain products that I absolutely must have. Like I won't sacrifice against them. So I trust the AI to filling the gaps with the other things. But there's certain brands that I'm not, it's not just that loyalty that I love the brand. It's because I believe in the product and the quality. And I always must have that certain type of drink or ingredient or chocolate or whatever it is. So brand building becomes even more important. But the mechanics behind it, I think, starts to change radically.
So do you think brand building is still important for humans though? Because like the machine doesn't really care probably, right? If you're going to ask AI, get me like a new pair of shoes that allows me to run as fast as possible, I'm not sure it's going to think, yeah, I'm going to buy the Nike because, you look cool in front of the others, right? It might just get I don't know, right? Where for humans, probably it's more important because we still use brands to, kind of, I would say show off, but you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, it's signaling. Fashion, it becomes, or sports, I should say, because there are different factors. If you're a running enthusiast and you've got a knee injury, then it may be much more it's on the product quality. You're like, get me a pair of shoes that reduces the risk of me injuring my knee because I still want to do running, even though I'm in my 40s. Whereas for somebody maybe younger who's saying, I want a pair of shoes, but really to impress my friends or to say something about me. So then, the brand becomes hugely important.
And probably the real cool feature is like now with the Apple, releasing the Apple Intelligence at the end of the day. I think what AI was missing is all our personal data, right? If you give AI all your personal data, it's able to understand what you want before you even think about it, right? Which in some ways is scary, right? But in other ways, it's amazing in terms of like, for example, productivity, efficiency. Think about, I love traveling, for example, right? And I always plan my trip by myself. Think about AI already knowing my favorite restaurants, my favorite, bars, and it's gonna tell me, look, tomorrow you're going to Lisbon, you must try those places. It's amazing. I think from a business perspective, the real challenge is what's the new SEO, because I feel like SEO is gonna. We already, in the last years, we were already talking about, the future is voice search. So you need to optimize your website for, the voice and everything. But like, how do you make your website, AI, friendly? I don't really have an answer yet. I feel like there should be someone that already has the answer, or it's not really explored yet.
The jury's still out for a few reasons. So the core role of SEO isn't going to change anytime soon, but I think the breadth, the remit of SEO will expand. Even just if you look at social and the role of, social commerce and live commerce, but also then the role of AI, where you're moving from SEO, where it's primarily search or Google search, into it, SEO encompasses so much. And so there's SEO teams, I think, become more important than ever. Now, the dynamics behind what drives AI, the reality is it's still being worked through. There's not a dominant platform yet. ChatGPT keeps updating. I think anyone that tries to pretend like they've got all the answers, it's crazy. But it's an opportunity now for brands to start playing around with it and anticipate, because when new features come out, the big difference is going to be brands who are already looking at this space, exploring it, and are ready to pivot, and ones who will wait, and then they've got a lot of movement to make up for later on.
You mentioned social commerce, right? How far is having like influencers that are like AI created?
So I think we're already seeing this. The first version of it was, entirely virtual influencers, and that's been a thing for a good few years now. So Lil and Michaela, things like that. She's been around for a while. I think she made 10 million last year from brand endorsements. She's not real, but 10 million being made to endorse brand, a lot of fashion brands in particular. So that's something that people have already got their heads around. There's a Spanish influencer that's doing very well. There's quite a few popping up. Where we're starting to see it that's interesting is real influencers, human influencers, starting to sort of virtualize themselves. They're AI-ifying themselves. So an example of this was like Karen Marjorie from last year. So she's real. She's an influencer. She's very big on Snap. And she was one of the first to train the custom GPT on all of her content, on hundreds of hours of what she'd been posting onto Snap. So the custom GPT effectively knew how she thinks, how she responds, what she talks like, kind of conversations she would do. And then she started offering it to her fans. And you could, for a minimal fee, you could chat with her, have a conversation. And there were an infinite number of carrots. Now, at one stage, I believe she was making $300,000 a month, $300,000 a month. And that's real Karen is sitting on her couch. She's not doing anything. She's having a cup of tea.
But like people knew that was fake, right? That was AI, right?
Yeah, but what we're seeing is already people having less of a distinction between real and virtual. If the relationship is there and you're getting something from it and it's honest and transparent, it's becoming really interesting. So Meta have been running a beta, which they announced publicly, where they've been working with celebrities like Kendall Jenner, Snoop Dogg, and they're effectively created, with their permission, the virtual versions of themselves. So you can now, within this beta in America, be friends with this sort of Kendall Jenner virtual version of her.
What do you think about it?
Well, there's the Kardashians are still very popular. If you're going to have hundreds of millions of fans, and now they know it's not the real Kendall, but it's going to be closer than you could have ever imagined to get to the celebrity that you care about, that you like. So many of us will have a celebrity that we think that genuinely, if we ever met, we'd be best friends. I'm sure of it. Right? We'd be the best of friends if we ever met. This is where it starts to become that world where you almost get to play that out. And so I think we're starting to see that more and more. But from a creator point of view, like with Karen Marjorie, I think creators are starting to see an entirely new way to monetize themselves, because it's not just what they're currently doing, this drive of new content every day. How can you drive reach? How can you drive engagement? You can train the system on everything that you've done. The history of your content. You could create a show from all the videos that you've done and create a virtual version that could go out and that you could use to connect with your fans or to monetize in different ways. It's not like everybody's going to be able to do it, but there will be a layer of influencers.
Do you think in the future people is gonna create their version, like their Tinder AI version, where they're gonna all the chats you have at the beginning, which is the boring part, right? Because then you're looking to meet people in real life. You might just have Tinder providing you AI. So at the end of the day, you have AI dating AI, but then real people meeting at some point. How do you think it's gonna end up, right? Because you don't know the other person. You might ask AI to give you a summary before the date, right?
Yeah, I mean, so this is the CEO. I can't remember. It's either Tinder or Bumble. I should get this right. But she was talking the other day, literally about this. She was saying you're going to have almost an AI version of yourself, almost testing the waters. So the worst thing is to go. Well, I've been married for quite a long time, but from what I understand, the worst thing of going on these dates and Tinder is. There's such a high failure rate. You meet people, it sounds sort of good, then you have a conversation, it just doesn't go anywhere. So if you can bypass all of that wasted time to find the couple of people, hopefully one person, that you genuinely connect with,
or maybe not,
then that's quite amazing. Maybe people who are sort of become cynical or lost faith in love or don't feel they've got the time. You've always got time for one date. And if you've got AI ensuring that the likelihood of that one date being something really incredible, I think more people might do it.
It's all about the efficiency. I mean, I use ChatGPT every day, as most of the people probably, but it's all about the efficiency. And I think I can't wait to get, a ChatGPT or a certain AI that can have Outlook, for example, right? I've been using Grammarly for years to write emails because I'm not a native speaker. So I wanted to make sure that I didn't make mistakes. The good thing is over time, Grammarly taught me how to write, because then at some point Grammarly wasn't correcting much. So I was like, look, I'm learning. This is great. Then, of course, ChatGPT came, and now you can actually just have a draft and ask AI to, write it from scratch. But probably we will get to a point where if it's able to read all of my emails, right, and it knows the email thread, it can just reply. It doesn't need me. It doesn't need my input. It only needs my supervision, but not even, right? Because most of the emails is like, yeah, I agree with you. And then if he also has access to all the documents, he can cross-check everything. Like,
Well, this is it. I mean, and again, it will come down to the quality of the connections. There's certain emails or things that you just don't need. So it helps you focus on the ones that do. One use case I heard about the other day, I'm not sure if this is live or this is just somebody hoping, was a version of Copilot on Microsoft that basically when you come back from holiday, it will just look through your emails. You've got 1,000 emails and it says, don't worry about these 950. Like, just don't worry. Don't waste your time. Like, just focus on these couple. This is the important stuff. The rest of it, don't worry. And maybe it calls out one or two, like, this was good gossip. Read this one. But everything else, you can leave it. So that would save people, you come back from a holiday, you can spend the first 2 days just trying to catch up on email.
Yeah.
So I think it's risky when you start farming out conversation and, relationship building to AI. That's the worry. But there's so many areas of email communication that is just finding out, do I even need to know this? And if somebody else can do that for you, that feels quite useful.
And then what about live commerce? Because, of course, live commerce, it's probably not a new thing. Because I remember, like, when I was like a kid, you had live commerce in TV, right? You had these people trying to sell you something. And we already have now today that transform into influencers, right? So when you see all of these people, trying to sell you like makeups or like, any type of products and services, right? So I feel like at the end of the day, everyone is doing live commerce on Instagram, right? On Facebook, on TikTok, and now of course they're trying to shorten the journey. So just looking at chat, this is the same thing, right? They're trying to from the first moment you see it to buy it, it's just few clicks, right? And now I see YouTube is doing the same. Probably in the future, what you're gonna see is Prime Video, Netflix. While you watch a movie, if you like, as you said, you were watching The Gentleman. You see like the chicken costume, you wanna buy it. Then you just click there, you save it, and then you buy later, or you just get it through Amazon tomorrow, right? Is this the near future, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I'm very excited about live commerce and where we're going. I mean, you make the point. I mean, it arguably started in the West. QVC was running in the 80s and everyone was buying on TV. So there are a number of people who are saying, look, it's an Eastern cultural thing. It works in China and Korea and a few other places. It just doesn't, won't translate over to here. I don't understand that logic. I think it started on TV. There's no reason. Digital shows that those type of behaviors run everywhere. Now, what becomes interesting is just the power that you see in China and the way that could grow out. So, particularly with influencers. So, influencers driving live commerce and the talent that sits behind it. So, I think there's an influencer called Li Zhu. I'm probably saying that name terribly wrong, but this influencer is one of the very, very big ones in China. Now, a year and a half ago, they had a live day for singles. They were personally responsible for delivering $2.9 billion worth of sales in one day. So in 8 hours, this wasn't even a 24, it was an 8-hour work day live stream. They were responsible for generating as much revenue as the biggest box office movie of all time globally. So it shows the power that these people have. From an AI perspective, going on site, connecting it back, if that person was ill for a day, that's a big worry. Leisure lost their voice, that's a concern, but now you can have virtual versions, they sell forever. But from a Western point of view, that's starting to trickle down because there's no barriers or borders that should prevent this. And I think we're already starting to see it. Like you said, TikTok commerce, TikTok Live is starting to take off. It was interesting that there was, luxury is even starting to be a driver within this. There's a group called Lux Collective. A founder, Ben Gallagher, who went on Dragon's Den and has become quite famous. He's been running TikTok Lives where they're selling, it's pre-loved, but it's luxury, it's luxury items. And there was people buying
vintage.
Yeah.
When it's used, they call it vintage, so you still pay high price.
Vintage and pre-loved, I like it. But there's people buying £5,000 designer handbags live. So this idea that maybe it will work, but it's, on really small items, you might pay £1, you're not going to, take it too seriously. People buy really significant things, but it's got to be the talent, it's got to be the way it's set up. It's slowly growing, but I think looking at 12, 24 months, I think it'll be a really, really big thing.
Look, I think looking at the future, and if we just look, you don't even have to look at the future. You just need to look at China and Asia in general. I was in Japan, a few months ago. They already there, right? So you don't even have to imagine it. You just go there, you see it, right? It might be a generational thing, but I will never follow an AI influencer. Like, I find it boring. I don't know. I find it fake. It doesn't have personality. I love real people. I don't know. It makes me relate more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I see that. And I've got the same concerns. I think there's a couple of things though. I think to an extent it might depend on the talent. It depends on the celebrity and the person that you love. So if it was a certain movie star or musician, a footballer, maybe it's different. Taylor Swift is playing right now. There was a study a little while ago that said 18% of Americans will vote for the next president based on the one that Taylor Swift endorses. So 18% of the whole country. So that would mean that Taylor Swift has more political power than any government institution in the history of the US, I believe. So, there's hundreds of millions of fans of Taylor Swift. If she AI-ified herself, I think there'd be a lot of people that would want to be friends with AI Taylor. So I think it's all about the person and finding the right talent, and then suddenly people's barriers towards it, I think, changes. The other side is, weirdly, we're starting to see evidence that people feel in some ways more comfortable, particularly maybe younger. And I've seen this with therapy of all things. So older people, understandably, are like, I wouldn't want a virtual therapist. That feels very weird, feels strange. I don't know how I would do it. Young people seem to be quite open to this, not only because of it potentially could be free, that they're open, available 24 hours, but actually a lot of people are saying they would feel less self-conscious. They would actually feel...
When you say virtual therapist, you mean like meeting your therapist online, or like actually having your therapist being an AI?
So if a therapist might sound too, not taking in terms of a doctor, but having a coach or a mentor. So somebody that's there to listen to you and give you guidance. And younger people, there's a couple of surveys that came out that were suggesting they would feel more open to it being completely AI mentor, because actually they're less self-conscious. That AI won't judge them. It won't, cast aspersions about them. It won't tell somebody in terms of gossip the following day. It won't get back to their loved ones or to their work colleagues. So weirdly, they actually might feel more comfortable having a relationship with somebody that isn't real, because actually it feels more protected and more personal than a human relationship.
100% we're going there. I mean, you can see the movie Air, right? Like if Alexa, keeps listening to you and he has access to all your messages, if you have access to everything I have, like my smartphone, so within my smartphone, everything, right? And then just everything about me. Of course, if I told to you, like, everything, like, and of course having like a best friend, an advisor, a therapist as well, right? And because you might have the best therapist because he might have studied every book, right? And he might have ingested and then it put it together with your life. It will probably give you the best advices. Don't look at it now, but like in 20 years, 100%, right? I would rather make more mistakes though than avoid it, but like it's
I see your point. Now, one thing I know that because you're a lecturer, aren't you? So because I think there's some interesting things. Look, so and just as a caveat, I'm not like naively pro AI. Like, it's perfect and everything's wonderful, but I do see advantages, particularly in terms of leveling things out. So in education, I think it's quite exciting.
It's amazing.
Because be able to, in the last sort of 50 years, what I understand, one of the biggest correlations between a child's academic success and future earning potential is classroom size. So the smaller the classroom, the better they can do. And obviously the ideal is a one-to-one tutor. Now, 99% of families can't afford that privilege of a personal tutor. We're now entering a world where every child can have a personal tutor for free, effectively. So, they're endlessly available. They're, infinitely patient. They're, entirely knowledgeable. So in theory, and this is very naive perspective and there's concerns as well, but, we might be at the precipice of welcoming in a generation of kids who have collectively been taught to the best of their ability, regardless of background, regardless of their economics and their affluence. And so you suddenly think, like, what could a generation of kids like that do? What could they achieve in terms of a positive side? That it's not just about how rich you are growing up and how good you become. Maybe AI becomes a real leveler where any kid from any background has an opportunity to fulfill all of their potential. That's what's quite 100%.
Exciting. And from an educator point of view, I've noticed, for example, I changed my, so I teach media planning, then media activation, campaign design, and media reporting, right? And I've noticed, like, this year course was way different than last year. I had to change it drastically because ChatGPT is here. So I told my students, look, guys, I will explain you everything you need to know in order to, deliver a media plan, right? To design a campaign. Because I think you need to know it still. Because in order to then prompt AI, you need to understand how to make it first, right? And then, of course, you can use it as an advisor and you can oversee. But in order to be a good manager, you need to know what your executive, what your assistant is doing, right? What your junior is doing, right? So it's the same concept. I see it as the same concept. The funny thing is that when I get into the class, I'm like, guys, those are the slides. I send the slides before the class, like a week before. So I asked them to go through the slides, read them. So I enter the room and I say, look, those are the slides. I'm going to spend probably 10% of my time walking you through the slides. I'm going to just touch the main points and tell you a story, giving you what, a human can give you. So making jokes, give you some, kind of examples in order to make you remember some concepts. But then if you have any question, ask it to Google first, then ask it to ChatGPT. And then if you still have a question, then ask it to me. Because honestly, 80% on the answers are already there. What you need from me, and this is what, and I think this is what I'm giving extra for now. Probably I will lose my job in the coming years, but like, what I'm giving extra now is my experience. So I can tell them, look, this is how I will do it. This is what I think you need to do it. I think this looks better than this other thing, right? So yeah, I feel more like the human interaction, asking them to present in front of 50 people. I feel like it's cool, I ask everyone, even the most introvert one, to, open up, tell the class something about themselves. Because I think in a world where, of course, everything is going to be more efficient, I think we need that, I think we're getting back to philosophy. I think we're getting back to ethics, because in a world where everything is more efficient, I'm a big fan of inefficiency. Of course, not at work. I try to maximize my time, but I think in life, creativity, art, beauty, love, I don't know, maybe it's my romantic way of seeing life as an Italian, but like comes from mistakes, comes from, the inefficiency, right? So yeah.
And the stories, so much of what we do. It's the stories of what makes us who we are, particularly with art, I mean, regardless of AI, you can, from what I understand, almost at a very granular level, you can create fakes of famous artwork. Now, the reason that they're not the same price as the artwork isn't because of the quality of the production. It's the story. It's the human effort that went into the original. Like, so with art, you buy the experiences and the hardship of the artist as much as you buy the work that they produced.
It's
and
marketing.
AI will never be able to do that. Yeah,
it's marketing.
It's a story.
It's storytelling.
Perfect.
Yes. By the way, art is the best marketing example, in my opinion. If you look, I mean, no offense to anyone, but if you look at the big pieces of modern art, but even like I usually ask myself, like when you go to these big museums, right? You have the big rooms where you have actually, the famous pieces, right? And then you go to other rooms where you see other artists that are less famous, right? And honestly, some of their art looks amazing, and I'm ask myself why these people are not like Picasso or the others. Of course, there are many reasons, but one of these reasons, and then a few people told me, because I've got a few friends to study art, they said because they didn't get to talk to the right people, and they didn't, place their paintings in the right rooms and everything. So it's all about the marketing as well. So yeah, no, it's pretty interesting. By the way, I'm giving a presentation tomorrow around AI, and the summary is AI is affecting the top line and the bottom line. The bottom line is because it's driving more productivity, right? So think about customer service, think about supermarkets, think about our job in terms of like writing emails, analyzing data. So of course, in one way is driving more efficiency with more productive. So in theory, I can spend less time working and more time in Ibiza, right? On the other side, on the other side is on the other side, the challenge is that is leading to staff cuts, because people that are able to keep studying, then they can evolve, but you need less people in other jobs, like like customer service, for example. So I think then there is a responsibility there to manage the staff cut and train people, because the technology is evolving faster than people. So I think that's a challenge. On the other side, you have the top line effect, the Netflix algorithm, Spotify algorithm. We actually creating new products based on AI. But on the other side, so as you said, music was created by people that were able to think out of the box, right? But maybe, and then this is like a provocative thoughts, but like some people that are more expert than me in AI, they're actually machine learning expert. They say that AI as us, it will get to a point where it's able to find the patterns and be disruptive and be innovative. So you can give it all the rock bands of the 80s or of all the history, and say, look, create something that people never done.
Yeah, I mean, I think again, it comes down to that optimization versus the marketing versus the storytelling. I think AI will be able to do some wonderful things. There's already some nice, interesting research that shows that AI can create food photography better than a lot of humans. Like AI knows what we find more appetizing more than we do, which is just blows my mind. But then, especially with something like music, it's so much of it is down to the artist and the story. You might be able to optimize the best pop song in the world, but Taylor Swift is still going to rule the world. Do you know what I mean? It's
You
the
love
artist and
Taylor
the position.
Swift, by the way.
Honestly, I can't. Everyone is talking so much. I feel like I'm the only person that didn't go to Wembley. So yeah, this is it. Everybody's just talking about Can and Taylor Swift. This is my life now.
By the way, moving to another topic, which is usually the second part of my podcast, you must be very busy, right? You managing director of a very big agency, and you must have a lot of stress. You must have friends, family. So how do you balance that? How do you find your work-life balance?
It's an odd one.
You don't have it.
Where I've always found it a bit strange, because I'm like, but if you've got to wait 8, 9, 10 hours of your day working to start your life, then that's a challenge, And I think I've just been very, very fortunate to end up in a career that I enjoy. Now, that doesn't mean for a second that it's not stressful. I'm not having to do lots of things, that there aren't days I just want to stay in bed. But in terms of the types of jobs and lifestyle I could have ended up with, I came from a very poor background, and I was at a state school, and the opportunities that I was told about when I was young, not many of them are that great. So me falling in many ways into the advertising marketing world was a dream, So I'm not projecting that onto other people. People have very different perspective. That's fine. For me, that's sort of the way that I try and remember it. When things feel a bit out of balance or things are very hard, I sort of think about the types of lifestyle or jobs and careers that I could have ended up in. and it's lovely. And then obviously beyond that is just prioritizing and, you know, and looking after the ones who are important to you, you know, your family, your partner. They're the ones that are going to be with you for life. At the same time, you know, and the people you work with, particularly in marketing, because it's such a small world.
It's a small
Those
world.
relationships are equally important, because it's not just what you're doing now in your job, it's the next place you go and the next place. Everybody somehow has a connection, and it comes down to, will people vote for you? You know, will they say that they were a good person, they contribute, they add, they're positive, or will they not? You know, and if you can project
By
that
the
onto
way, I
others,
think if
hopefully
you are
they're good to you.
authentic, if you are real, if people like can tell that even at work, it's you, right? At the end of the day, we spend so much time at work, and as you said, you know, you can't always, you know, split work and life, because work can be your life as well. You meet a lot of amazing people, you make a lot of friends. I made a lot of good friends at work or through events, because at the end of the day, you share a common passion, right?
You're right, and I think the luck thing is a very important piece, and I think it's easy for people. You know, you never want to say, "Oh, I fell into something. I was lucky." You know, everybody knows their own sacrifices, their own passion, their own drive. The reality is, a lot of it is luck, and I think there's a risk where people in a very fortunate position forget that. And it's, look, you can't apologize for the opportunities that you come across in life, but sometimes to assume others aren't as hardworking because they're not in the same position isn't telling half of the story. I know loads of people who are amazing. Again, you know, from my background and where I grew up, a lot of people who were so smart and had so much, you know, could do so much, but didn't have the same opportunities as everyone else. So everybody runs their own race, but being mindful of the luck that everybody has and being thankful for that is a really important part, you know.
I think being thankful, you know, because I mean, I find myself some days like always wanting more, you know, I'm always like, okay, I've done this, I want to do that. I got 10,000 views on my video, I want 20. I've got this job, I've got promotion, I want another promotion. And it's great, because I feel at the end of the day, you always need to look for more in order to get for more, because if you don't ask for it, you don't get it, as easy as that. But at the same time, you need to appreciate what you have. And I mean, if I talk about myself, I feel sometimes I forget to appreciate. And we all lack it in some ways. I think you just need to change the perspective.
Yeah, I think it's the dream is, you know, you're ambitious in the morning and you're thankful in the evening. You know,
This is a good one.
If you can balance it that much each day, you're living the life. You know, you don't want to just be thankful the whole time and give up. But you don't want to be constantly striving and missing out, like you said. So, and I mean, that's my advice. How much I live by that myself. But that's the dream, I think, for all of us.
I love it, by the way. I'm going to save it. Probably this is going to be the intro of the podcast. And then the last thing I usually ask people, right? What's your definition of success, right? Because for some people, success is becoming billionaires. For other people, it's just making millions. For other people, it's just like, I don't know, drinking wine all day. I'm trying to find a balance, by the way. But like, what's your definition of success?
John, to be honest, I really don't know. I'd love to have a smart answer. And you know, it goes back to the conversation we just had. Like it depends how ambitious you are. It depends where your ambitions lie. Like my idea of success 5 years ago, 10 years ago is completely different to now. So it's very time-based, for better or for worse. You know, the older I get, and being a parent obviously changes everything. Now my focus and priorities in terms of success is very much more people, my loved ones, my family, and then to an extent within work. You know, as much as people move, like, you know, work isn't a family, but you can still have a profound impact on the people you work with and how you help them. I've had 1 or 2 people that have really done that to me. If I can do that to a couple of people, well, I feel like I'm winning, you know.
I think the exact same thing. But probably this is part of my second hat at university. I try to mentor people. I try to help people, because like if they have a small success, even if my impact was only 1% or even lower, that makes me good. And I feel like I think you need to leave something into the world. By the way, thank you so much for accepting the invite. That was informative and deep at the same time. So yeah, man, hopefully I will meet you soon. And yeah, cheers to love and cheers to helping the others then. Thank you.
You too. Thanks, Joe. It's been lovely. Thanks so much.